In 1848, Charlotte Woodward was earning a pittance stitching gloves in her home in Waterloo, New York. Like other women of her era, the former schoolteacher was denied many of the basic rights of citizenship enjoyed by men, including higher education, certain property rights, and of course, the right to vote. That July, Charlotte was intrigued by an announcement she read about a meeting of women to be held in a chapel 40 miles away. Looking for an opportunity to better her life, she set out on July 19th for the town of Seneca Falls. Charlotte was at one of those pivotal moments in history when mindsets change and perspectives shift. Just a few weeks earlier, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott had met over tea to organize the first convention dedicated to American women's social, civil, and religious rights. The convention at Seneca Falls would grow into a movement that would soon gain allies such as Susan B. Anthony, who would spend the next 50 years advocating for women's suffrage. Finally, in 1920, the U.S. ratified the 19th Amendment, securing women's constitutional right to vote. Charlotte Woodward was the only Seneca Falls attendee who lived to see that great moment of change. Change was beginning to happen elsewhere, too. That same year, halfway around the world in rural Iran, a 14-year-old girl named Moloch John was beginning to feel the first painful signs that she was losing her sight. She would grow into a revered sage and influential thinker, transforming lives. And like the women of Seneca Falls, she would bring about a shift in the way her community viewed women and girls. In an environment known for its male supremacy, girls did not go to school, were often fed less than boys, and were reared for marriage and childbearing. But Moloch John was different. The daughter of a notable mystic, she received a good education, and she had something more, incredible strength of character and unshakable convictions. Drawing on the spiritual teachings of her father and brother, she dedicated her life to the service of others and advocated for women's equality. Moloch John believed that every person had a duty to use his or her abilities for the benefit of others, and that is what she did. She not only brought new irrigation techniques and electricity to her farming village, but also transformed its culture and its way of life. Under Moloch John's soft-spoken leadership and wisdom, the village began feeding boys and girls alike, allowed girls to attend school, and made women equal participants in their society. She personified the dignity of our humanity, always treating others with genuine compassion and respect. Moloch John would often say that if you change a person's mindset, their actions will follow. Her profound insight and example have transcended geographical boundaries, impacting attitudes and mindsets all around the world. In 1995, 2 years after Moloch John's passing, thousands of people converged on Beijing for the 4th World Conference on Women, where Hillary Clinton declared, "Human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights once and for all." 189 nations signed the declaration, and today the vast majority of countries have laws in place recognizing some form of gender equality. It's been more than 20 years since Beijing, and over a century and a half since Seneca Falls. Much progress has been made. Mindsets are beginning to change. We have women on the U.S. Supreme Court, but as Justice Sandra Day O'Connor reminds us, legislation and laws are not enough. Success, she has said, depends on changing minds at home, in the streets, and in the workplace. We have seen the beginnings of this change on the battlefield, in parliaments, and even in space. But more change is needed, from the boardroom to the courtroom to Silicon Valley. Changing mindsets about what women are and can be, is the great work ahead of us. But the unstoppable wave of women's progress rolls on, creating new opportunities, new moments for change, when cultures shift and transform. There are moments in history when we can move fast and we can move forward. Our moment is now.